Hello everybody. So today we are going to talk about how to contribute to open source. So this is completely derived from my way of contributing to open source code. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. So what are we going to look today? What are we going to do today is understand what is open source and what we are actually gonna do is find the problem, find an open source library which has a problem, and actually fix the problem and give a pull request. So that's what we're gonna work on today. So this is my first ever recording. So if there is any gimmicks or glitch or anything that's going wrong, mm, it's okay, I guess, because this is the first time mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. So with that, let's dive in and understand open source. That's our step number one. So first, why do you have to do open source? Because it's cool. It's definitely cool, and sometimes you want to work on a real big project, as in it's spread across a lot of regions, a lot of countries, involving different set of people, especially remote and all that stuff. And especially if you're students and you're constantly complaining that you don't have industry exposure and you don't get to work on something cool, you that is not an actual excuse, because you have tons of open source project which you can work on, and you are definitely, with that you're definitely gonna collaborate with a lot of cool people around you, around not just around you, across the globe, because all these open source communities are so welcoming, they're so warm for first timers, and it's absolutely, and it will be absolutely great if you're gonna start out as a student. Even if you're like a couple of years into the industry, it's definitely good to have your hand in open source, because the kind of reception you'll get out of it is amazing. So having said that, there are lots of myths around it. A couple of them is really scary for me, because one thing is like you have to be the super awesome programmer. Your code should be perfect and all this um, mad some setup, but it's not actually true. You have to know what you're doing. Like if you're gonna do a JavaScript or a Python contribution, you have to know what you're gonna do and stuff like that. But you don't have to be perfect on the first go. So if someone is gonna say, "Hey, you're not good enough for open source," let the contributors, let the open source moderators say that for you. Don't let other people pull your leg and not letting you not go anywhere. So next thing is you need to know how to code. This is another bummer as well. If you like open source, if you like collaborating with cool people, then knowing to code should not be a barrier to get you there. So you can also write blogs for them. You can also try out their uh, packages and give comments on them, like how can they improve and stuff like that. You can also do amazing contribution. For example, the current project we're going to work on does not have a contributing.md file, that is the contributors guidelines. So what you can actually do is you can go and contribute that as well. So it is not just like if an open source project misses a license, you can just talk to them and say, why don't we put this license on, this will work, right? So you can do absolutely, you can start with absolutely nothing, and you can work your way up towards making an actual code contribution. It doesn't always necessarily have to be code, but there are some things you have to look at for, some truths that are there, like always follow contributors guidelines. Like every open source project, if they are accepting uh, people from people to contribute, they should have a very clear contributing guidelines. As I said, if they don't have one, it is for you. You can go and create a guideline for them. But if there is one, stick with it, follow it, take it to the heart, but don't mess around with it, okay? Because it's gonna be hectic for you as well as for your moderators. And to be honest, it takes an insane amount of time and a lot of effort, a lot of patience. Since I have a full-time job, finding time to do a contribution to open source has been really hectic. I've been sitting on one pull req for almost like 6 months now. That's my first ever code contribution to Pandas library. So that being said, that should not be a stopping point for you. That is something you have to make peace with. It's gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of. It's gonna test your patience, but the end result is gonna be amazing. So that itself for me is personally difficult. It is difficult because every open source project comes with a bunch of standards you have to stick with. That is a good experiment to do, but that can be stressful at the same time. So making peace with these points will actually reduce the stress a lot more. So next thing is, how do you start, right? Now that you know what to believe or not to believe, how do you start? Is first thing is you pick a problem. So again, you start, for example, in my case with pandas, I had to build this reporting module. So what I did was I used pandas and I started using it, and I had a problem for which I can't find solution with pandas. Then what I did, so I picked a problem, I wanted to use pandas, and then I couldn't solve a particular problem with that, so I became the critic and find fault. So once you find fault, you don't just go around and talk to people, hey, you know what, Panda sucks. You don't do that with open source. What you do is you raise issues. See, this is what I'm trying to do. I couldn't accomplish with this with your package. How can you help me? If they already have a round solution, they will obviously offer you. If not, what you can do, you can just fix it for them. And once you fix it, there is a huge bunch of code reviews, comments, and all the build systems is going to come into place. But you fix them, and once it's all done, they're going to merge it, and your code will become one of those thousands lines of code they have already written, and that will be your eureka moments. So that is how you proceed. In this video, we are actually going to dive in. We're going to go through these steps, right, and actually fix the problem. Let's see if we can get to the eureka, or are we gonna get stuck at the point number 5 fixing. But let's see where it goes, right? So first point is to pick a problem. I'm going to walk you through the problem that I have faced recently. So the first problem I'm going to walk you through is I have this amazing, I can say, I guess, bhavaniravi.com. That's my portfolio website. So I've been building it for past 5-6 months. So this is where you find me, everything about me, all the blogs. One thing I did was for blogs, there's a blogs page. This just lists down all the Medium posts I have. I don't have blogs as static content in my site. Instead, it just links to my Medium posts. So this was a decision I took 6 months before, but right now I'm in a state where I feel it's better to have all the static content on my site. Basically, what I'm trying to do right here is this just links. I get data from my Medium, and then I just populate it. It got nothing to do with scraping or anything. None of this data lies in my site itself. It's just an API call. So I get all this information and I just populate it. So what I'm actually trying to do is bring all this data into my website. So if you go and look at my look into my website's code, it's going to look something like this. So it's going to look something like this. So this is the data. This is where I want all my blogs to come in, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to scrape all my Medium articles and bring it into my my code base. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. So let's try to do that. What Medium allows you to do is when you go to settings, and you can download all your data from here. So I think it's somewhere here, sign out of all the sessions. Yeah, so you can download your information from Medium. So the output of that looks something like this. So what you get is a post folder with all the posts that I've written. So these are basically HTML pages, like if you look here, right? So what we have to do is find an open source package which can convert all these HTML files into MD files for you, and also so MD files which React.js supports or Gatsby supports. So that's what we're going to look at. So the package I've been looking at is something called as export Medium to Gatsby. There's a couple of blog posts about it, right? So here is all the information we need to work with. So it says, so basically how do you use it? Medium, you download all your Medium content and then say Medium to Gatsby, your input path, your output path, and followed by a template. So what this template is that So basically you're going to create a markdown file, md file, and it will have information about your slug, published date, created date, title, template, whether it's a post or a comment or something like that, and description, subtitle, category, and tags. So these are all the information that it's gonna populate, followed by your blog itself, right? So this template, I didn't write it myself, it's just there in the documentation, so it's right here, right? So it's right here, so you can copy this and paste it there. So that's what I did. So now we have our problem. The problem is to convert your um, the ultimate use case is to convert all your Medium posts into README. So what we have stumbled upon is this package. So now we are what we're gonna do is we're gonna find this package and use it. So to use this, let me go to my terminal. Right, I think I have it somewhere here. Okay, great. So this is my portfolio, right? So what I'm doing is so here is Medium to Gatsby. My you have to do an npm install, and then you have Medium to Gatsby command, followed by your input path, your output path, and your template path. So once you do this, a heads up is that the results, the output or the error messages here is not clear, but it actually works. So let me do that first, right? So it's gonna export all my things into weird. So it says desktop medium export post not found. No such file or directory. Okay, so let's try this then. Slash dot. Nope. Where did I move this? Did I move it? Weird. So let's try this one more time. So Medium to Gatsby. Desktop slash medium export slash, I think it's downloads, documents. Yeah, so I think this is the path. There. So I just did a couple of prints, so see that it's working. Other than that, there's nothing in here. It's just printing everything that it's extracting. So it's for every blog, it's extracting title, description, published, body. So once it's done, you can go to my blog, and right here you can see a bunch of new files that's created. So if every blog is a folder here, and inside every blog there is an index.md file. And cool. So we have all our headings in place, and you know this blog is originally published. The underlying thing is working. Everything looks perfect. So we had a problem. See, so we picked a problem now, and then we kind of started as a user, and we kind of arrived at our output. The step number 3 is to next step is to find fault, right? It can't be perfect. It can't be what you're actually looking for. So I am going to go through this output file. If you go through this, the slug seems fine, published date, created date seems fine, title is perfect, so everything else looks perfect, but then something is not okay, which is draft and subtitle is undefined, right? So this is a huge bummer. I want to know whether a particular post is in draft mode or in publish mode, right? So that is a huge thing for me. So that's not there, which is not gonna work. And to my surprise, if I go down here, I don't see any of my drafts being saved here, which is another bummer for me, because I have a lot of things in my draft and I would definitely want to export them. So I go back to the documentation to see whether I've read it any wrongly or something. So is there something for draft? Actually no, right? So it actually skips over drafts and post replies. That's what it's saying, which is not okay for me. So what are we doing is right now critiquing it. I think as a user of this particular package, I would want the control to see whether you have to export the drafts or not. So that is something, some improvement. He calls it a feature, but I would say no, it's not a feature. Sorry, I have a lot of drafts which is in unpublished mode, which is in review mode. So I would want to go back and work on it. So that's a huge bummer. The second thing about it is I don't see a subtitle at all, which is very bad because subtitles are something which is really important. If you go to any of those stories, subtitles are something that comes up in your preview. So not having a subtitle is again a setback. So I think my internet connection is bad or something. It's been evolving. Anyways, so if you see here, some of these things will have all these cute lines which says what the blog actually means. So that is something I need. So basically what I'm trying to build is this page as well as the following page, right? So I had critiqued it. So it is skipping through the drafts and it's not giving me the subtitles. So that's something. And next thing you can notice is here, these two dates are exactly the same. So when I go to template, what I've actually done is the actual template gives me only one date, which is a published date. The created date is not available, which is because they just scrape this particular page where there is no information about the the created date. There's only published date. So we're actually scraping this page. This is what we have as HTML. So there's no way to get that. So those are some of the issues I found out. So once you find the issues, what do? You just raise it. You don't badmouth the package. You just have to be the nice one, be the game player, go to your original project, right? So this is one you've been seeing is the forked one. So I did raise a couple of issues. So one is draft file is missing. Second thing is subtitle and created dates are missing. So actually when I created this issue, I didn't look at the feature which said, they are skipping through it. So I'm going to just edit it and say, it would be nice to give the control to the user to decide whether to use drafts or not, right? So I'm creating a comment. So I raised two issues. One is drafts files are missing. Second is medium subtitle and created date is missing. So out of these two issues, this two is not likely to be done right away, because what you see here is what you get here. There is no way to differentiate your subtitle from your actual content. Also, this page does not have anything about your created date. So this is a big thing to work on. So what we're going to work on is just draft file missing. For you to work on any open source project, what you do is you fork the project. So you fork it. I already have forked it in my own repository. That's what I've been showing you so far. So this is my own forked repository. This is just an exact copy. Now here is where your actual code is. So I have this exported. So I exported it and cloned it into my local place, and then since it's a node project, npm project, I did an npm install, and here is some snippet for me to work with you later, right? So this is some problem. There are some problems you're gonna hit as we go down the road. So first thing we have to do is every project here starts with index.js. So what this index.js actually does is it handles your command line interface. So whatever things we have been doing here, it has been taken from this. So I would like to add another flag. So it says template. So here is a flag, right? So let's add draft as a flag. And what this actually does is it's of type boolean, alias will be D. So I created an extra flag which basically says, if you want drafts, export drafts. So export drafts, whether it's boolean or not. So that's something. And next thing is, once you did this, you have to also update your options here. So let's Control C, Control V, which is drafts, like export drafts, right? Export underscore drafts. That's there. And just -D and flag to set flag to export drafts along with other posts, right? So that's there. So that's a basic thing. Now what we have to do is here it takes the template path, and we also will create export drafts is equal to CLI dot flags dot drafts, export drafts, right? So, and you have to pass it to the converter. So we also pass it to the converter. Now let's go and see what the converter has for us. So this is a converter which takes a lot of things, and along with this we'll say export drafts flag. So export draft flag is right here, and then current medium file resolving. So let's see what this does actually. So it says whether it's a directory, default template. So it actually has a default template which we will use. Now the folder is passed in, so get all the HTML files. So it gets all the HTML files. And convert medium file. I don't know what this does. Convert medium file. So okay, so right here what it does is primary entry point. So this is where a lot of the code happens. So convert a medium file is where you have to pass your export drafts, right? You pass that, and in here you will receive it, export drafts. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a command plus click so that it pops to where it's been defined. So now we have export drafts here, and right here there's a check which says, we are skipping over draft files. So I don't want this to happen. I'm just gonna comment it out. Or what I can do is I can say if not export drafts, or sorry, I'm using Python convention. If not of export drafts, just skip it. Instead of skipping it every time it's a draft, you just skip it only when it's set to that way, right? So that's there. Next is, so I think that should work, right? So we have done that. Now, so previously we ran a command where it said medium to here. So previously we ran a command which said medium to Gatsby, right? So here, medium to Gatsby. This is the command we have been running, but currently our project is, whatever changes we have been doing, it is in our local system. It has not been pushed to your our npm. So what we have to do is run it from our local system, which means I'll be in this particular folder and I'll run my index.js using Node. So let me show that to you. So for the sake of this particular demo, I'm in the export medium to Gatsby path, right? And I'm in the master. I haven't created a separate branch for this, which is not okay, but let it be for the sake of the demo. So what are we working with is this particular thing, right? So let's bring that closer. And for the sake of this demo again, what I have created is a simple input and output. So what's that input? It's our medium files, right? Medium HTML files. And what our output is gonna be our MD files. So it should work, right? So we have one normal posted one and another non-posted one, so that is there. And we also have a template right here, so that's a template.js. So what we are going to do is we are going to run a command which is going to, so that right there, so we are running the index.js file, and the input path is medium to Gatsby input, output path is medium to Gatsby output, template path is medium to Gatsby template.js. So let's hit enter and something is going to happen. I don't know what. So there it is. So it says post attempted is 0. Drafts that were not attempted is 3. Bit weird, right? Okay, I think okay, it's because of how we didn't set this to true. That's the problem. So we added that. Medium files from input have finished converting to output using template. Detailed report is available. So let's go back to our file picker and see whether it's actually converted. Okay, conversion report. Okay, it's the same report that we are seeing there. What is going wrong? I think the export draft is the problem. So let's go to convert and see whether console.log of export drafts. Trust me, I'm not so good at using debuggers in JavaScript specifically because I'm really new to this. So I'm just doing console.log. So it says undefined right here. So that's the problem. Okay, so how to fix that? Okay, let's do something. Instead of working with our export drafts, right? We'll come to our export drafts later. Let's just comment this and everything that's skipping this line, right? Instead of skipping it, what I'm going to do is just comment out this whole part so that it will not skip my drafts. So no matter it is true or false, that's not going to affect my thing. So now I am stumbling upon an error. Let's go and see what's happening in here. So actually, if you see the input, right? The input to this one, the published one actually worked. The draft one is what failed, right? So that is the issue. So we have an output for the published one, but the draft one is still in having some issues. So let's go again and see what's failing. So basically it says converter.js line number 103. So let's go to 103 line number. So here it's trying to read a canonical URL. So canonical URL is nothing but the URL you actually see in Medium with the slug and stuff. So when you export Medium, it actually gives you that link, but for drafts it does not. So basically for drafts there is no canonical URL. That is something we have to work with because anything that's a draft will not have your canonical URL, actually the URL to your thing. So how this person has found out whether a post is draft or not is using this particular lines, right? So you take the file from the file path, and if the file name dot match, I guess, I think, yeah, I have it somewhere in the snippet. So if the file name starts with draft, then it's is draft will have a thing. So if it's a draft, what you do is you don't do this. If of is draft, you skip through this, right? If not of is draft, just take the canonical URL. If not, what you do is you just skip through it. So let's see how it works. Again, there is a problem. So what happens is path must be a string undefined. Path must be a string, but it's undefined. What does it mean? Okay, it's not getting a. So we should actually, canonical link is something that it uses to create this new file as well. So if you see here the files here, right, this is something it uses to create these files. So not having that is a problem. So it should be of type string, but it's not. So what can we do? So it's definitely happening in line number 101 again. So 101 we have, oh, okay. That's fishy. Okay. Path must be a string received undefined. Okay. Converter.js line number 101. Somewhere file path is not right. So let's print it there. It's undefined, undefined, undefined. Why? Because we are not sending the file path, right? So there is options. There's no file path anywhere. Let's go back to the snippet. Okay, we need a file path, but where is the file path? It's in options. So let's go back to gather post data, content, comma, options. I think it's in options. Let's see. Or maybe content. No, should be in options. It has image path, feature for slug. Okay, so that's not there. Let's see content. Okay, content is basically a bunch of files, so we can't work with this. I don't know what I'll change. So gather post data, gather post data has need to have source file path. So there is file path. So source file path, there it is. So now the error has been moved to line number 110. Let's move to line number 110. So it's basically a bunch of trial and error. So here title for slug is match of 1. So this again goes here, right? So that's there. Okay, options.uri is required argument. Okay, once it has all these links, what it does is it actually is trying to get a media images and pages using the canonical link. So if it's a draft, what we have to do is we have to construct a canonical link here. Okay. So for that, we have to understand how this canonical link looks in your output file, sorry, the input file, right? So here is our input, right? This is a published image. This is the published thing, and your canonical URL is right here. So it's a direct link to wherever it's posted. It's right there. So you don't have to work your way around it. But for a blog that's in draft, when you look at it, there's no canonical URL because it's continuously changing. And you open it in Sublime Text, what you actually have is a footer, a paragraph tag followed by a link to the draft. So basically, if you open this from your incognito mode, right, what happens is it just opens it for you. This is the draft mode. So one thing we have to note down here is the canonical URL will be medium.com/your account ID slash your post ID. So for us to get this post ID, what we're going to do is we are going to convert. So we have to get this post ID by scraping the site again. So for that, I have written a small snippet here to get the canonical URL link. So what are we looking for is a footer followed by a paragraph followed by an uh, anchor link, right? So that's what we are looking at. And now so medium.com slash, so what does it have? Medium.com slash p slash, so that's what it says. So if you paste this, so that's what we want. We just need that particular URL. So your canonical URL will be that. So actually canonical, not the canonical URL, title for the slug will be that. Sorry. Your canonical URL will be that, and your title for the slug will be nothing. Let's say nothing, because it's just getting the images using the slug. I don't know how it's saved, but let's just hold that. Let's run this. Reference error, HTML is not defined. Okay, so this is the issue. We don't need that. Great. So now it has attempted 3 posts and it has successfully completed 3 posts, which means this is our, if you remember, this is where we fixed it and we have made it. So something has been working. So let's go check our output, right? So there you go. So sad, there's no files created. That was okay, there's no published date, undefined, created date is undefined, the last died, that's something new. Great, so that's a post, and whether it's a draft or not is undefined, the subtitle is still undefined. So that's something we have to fix, right? This is undefined because our thing was not working. There's no slug for this as well. That is something we need to fix, but something has been created. Again, there is no folder for this because we don't have a slug. So what can we do is we have to get the title of the thing and we can use that as a slug. So let that be there for now. Before we fix it, let this be like this way, slug. Let this be this way for now, right? And let's go back and fix our export drafts. Why is it not working? Right? It said boolean, right? And we are using something called as meow. That is what these people are using, and I said boolean. So let's see what this meow has to do. JavaScript meow CLI boolean. There's a cheat sheet, right? So I think everything in here is boolean, is a string. Let's see if it supports boolean. There it is. Type is boolean, alias is R. Type is string, comma boolean. So let's say default true, all that is there. But why is our thing not detecting it? What have we done wrong? So let's say default is true. So let's see. I just made that drafts and let's see if this works. So there you go. We have true, true. I don't know whether it's because of the default true. Let's remove that and see. There you go. So now it's working. I don't know what the issue is, but yeah. So we have this done. So now export drafts is working, right? So let's go back to our converter, and somewhere here we commented out skipping on being a draft, right? So let's go here, right? Uncommented this, convert to medium file is called somewhere export drafts. So here and here, so comma export drafts, again another, is there another convert to medium file? No. So we have done that, and so if there is an export draft, what are we gonna do is if not export draft, push it and then do nothing else. Somewhere here we are setting post data, right? So okay, again here we need, this is our output file, and in here it says undefined. We want that to be true or false. So that is again set by it should be set in your post data dot draft it's equal to exportwraps. So with this should work. Now let's try it again. So it's true. Let's go in here and open this file. There you go. That's there, which is amazing, right? So there's no published date because it's not published yet. There's no created date because it's not created yet. So that's okay. And so that we have already finished, right? So I think it's ready to go live and be done for all our rest of the blogs, right? So let's try that. So we have made a bunch of changes here, right? So let's go back and review them. We have added index.js where it takes a boolean and it actually does your drafts. So by default it's false. So and let's say defaults to equal to default false. So that's there. That we have done, and then we passed it to our converter, which does convert medium file. So again we have passed it there. So now here what we have done is if it says export draft, if it says don't export my draft, then we have just skipped through it, right? You don't need this here. Else what we have done is we have actually processed it. While processing it, we had a problem where if it's a draft, right, if the file is a draft, then what we do is we don't have a canonical URL. If not, we have to come up with a slug. So this slug is basically your title. So let's see what the title is all about. So let's go to the input again and open with Sublime. So let's see what that title looks like. So title is basically graf leading graf title. That's the one. So and I need something that would convert this particular string into a slug for me. So that's something I'm looking for, right? So let's see. First of all, let's read that, right? We'll go back here and $off dot. So this is a dot attribute of text, I guess. Let's see, right? So that's your string. That's not a slug yet. That's just a string. Okay, now JavaScript convert a string to slug. So convert the title to slug. So there you go. So we have a function right here. We'll copy this. Convert to slug, there is a function, so we'll copy that and then just paste it, right? So we'll go to the top of this and I'll paste this. So we'll go back here and we'll call convert to slug of. So we're calling convert to slug of the text and it should convert it to text for us, right? So this is good. I think this should work. So but there's something wrong with this. It's not an attribute actually. I'm not sure what it is. So JavaScript web scraping read content inside tag. Okay, this is what we have been using, Cheerio, right? So to use first element, intro, div selectors, body, title, dot text. So it's just dot text off. It's not attribute off, it's just dot text off. So here it's dot text off, nothing else. So great. So this is okay. Now let's go back and run this. Okay, this looks cool. Now let's go back to our Finder, opened. Hey, look at this. We just had our, okay, sorry, that's not our output. This is our output. Open with Sublime. There, still published is undefined and subtitle is undefined. Slug is still empty. Which is a bit fishy because, you know, it should not be because we just changed it, right? Let's see what this returns. In fact, I'm just going to stick with this and see what this returns. Variable blog title is equal to console.log of blog title. Right, now let's pass the blog title here. Okay, I'm actually getting the blog title. Now, am I getting the slug? Yes, I do. So here is the slug, here is the other thing. So that's actually working. There you go. So it's actually working right here. Only thing that's missing is the images, which is fine because it's just a draft. I can work around it. But here the slug is still empty. I don't want it to empty. I want it to be the slug I just created here. So, which means my post data is not consuming the slug, right? It's actually taking the slug from somewhere else. So, just get medium images. So this is where post data is getting tracked. So here is the title. Let's see. Published. Slug, is it somewhere here? Title for slug, convert to slug. Title for slug. Here. Title for slug is here. So we are creating our title for slug here, and we are assigning it to title for slug here, which is in turn used somewhere else. So that is there. Okay, so this is because of our template. This could be because of our templates because it's reading it from somewhere else. Let's go back and see. So this is something that's old. Let's go back again. So here you open this with Sublime Text, right? So it's actually taking the slug from title for slug. I don't know why that's empty. Okay, let's do something. Let's go to the output, delete them all. Like literally move them all to trash, and then let's generate it one more time. I think that's because it's an old file or something. Okay, the slugs are created fine, and here you have all the drafts created fine. And then let's open it with the Sublime Text. There you go. The slug is created and the draft is true, but it's not, it's a string, which is not okay, I guess. But that's fine for now. So what we have just done is we have fixed some of the issues and we have actually made it. So let me show the next step I'm going to do as well. So the next step I'm running into a low battery. Next step I'm going to do is to commit all these things. So how do I do that? So this is the branch I've been working on, it's master. So if you see git status, this all the files have changed, and I have had something called the snippets, which is a new file which I just created. So I'll just remove this file. You don't need that anymore. Move to trash. And I've added console.log a lot of places, right? So let's see where all I have it. Console.log. So yeah, I almost removed all of them. So it's just the conversion metrics that's getting printed, and even in here I think I've removed all of them, so you don't have to worry about it. So git status, there you go. So in our index.js file, what have I done is uh, what I've done is to add an option to toggle between exporting drafts. Okay, so that's what I've done, and add lib/converter.js git commit. What have we done here is add functions to support draft export, which is number one, creating a canonical URL and title for slug, right? That's what we did. We did nothing else. And we removed skipping over drafts. Great. So that's great. Now, as I said, I don't usually work on master. We have to actually create a separate branch, right? I forgot to do that, so I'm just going to create a separate branch. What happens is I have not pushed it yet, so it will come, all the commits right now I have in my master will be moved to that branch. Fix draft files missing, or just drafts missing, right? Fix drafts missing, that's my thing. So git log. So there you see my recent comments. What I'm gonna do is git push origin fix drafts missing. So this actually pushes to my branch. For me to create a pull request to the actual one, I have to go to this URL. So let's go there. Okay, this is not the one. Here. Let's go to this particular URL. And what we are doing is we have just comparing the master of the branch I forked it from, which belongs to James Charles. And so here is all my changes. You can just review it here and give the pull request. So there you go. So this particular pull request does not have any comments because I've given a very elaborate things. What you actually do is you actually give a link to your opened issue, right? So here we'll go back here, we'll open this, and what you do is you edit it, and I think it's fix drafts missing, and you edit this, fix for issue #4 files draft missing. So fix for issue number 4, I did a link. So now you're all done. It is for the moderator to review this and merge it. So by the time before the merge, if you want some more features to be added, you can go back and commit and just add along with it, but make sure it all belongs to the same pull request. So yes, we finally made our way into open source and we have given a pull request. What happens to this pull request later, we'll see in future videos. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. We'll see you soon.